From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Nikesh Ragani and welcome to Stumped. I'm joined by Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney and Sunil Gupta is in Delhi for Akashvani. Now, the Australia captain and one of the most successful female players of all time, Alyssa Healy, will end her international career after the home series against India, which takes place in February and March. In a trophy-laden career, she's won 8 World Cups, scored more than 7,000 runs and been involved in 275 dismissals behind the stumps. Well, one cricketer who played alongside Healy and won multiple World Cups herself is Elyse Villani. Elyse, welcome to Stumped.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Firstly, how would you sum up the impact that Alyssa Healy has had on the Australian side and women's cricket in general?
Yeah, I think that's a really tricky question actually, because she's been an icon for so long. I'm sure she's been on many posters along with the names like Meg Lanning and Elise Perry in lots and lots of children's bedrooms around the world. There's no doubt in my mind that she's inspired a whole generation to pick up a bat and pick up some keeping gloves as well, and get involved in cricket. I think the way that she's played the game, she's always been competitive. She's always been true to herself. I think they're really great qualities that she's had, and coming in and leading Australia as well. I mean, that just sort of is a bit of a testament as to the person and the competitor that she's been for a really long time.
Now, most young cricketers grow up dreaming of perhaps playing for their country. Maybe the ultimate dream is to win one World Cup. You've been there alongside her in multiple World Cup victories. What was she like to play alongside through all that success?
I played junior stuff against her growing up, and then played a lot of Australian stuff with her as well. And she never changed. The person that she was that same competitive, bit of a pest behind the stumps, to be honest, from when she was a junior cricketer. And she carried those characteristics all the way through to her international career. And I love the fact that she remained exactly who she is. She loved enjoying her teammates' company in the change room. She loved having a beer after the game, and she just was all about that camaraderie. And I think that's always been the really nice thing about her is no matter how professional the women's game has become, she's certainly remained really consistent to the person and the player that she is.
And in terms of leadership, the Australian side is blessed to have a lot of leaders, a lot of experienced within the squad. Is there a name that stands out to you as to who should perhaps take over as the next captain of Australia?
Oh, this is absolutely a debate I do not want to get involved in. That is it's hard to, I guess, have an opinion on those things when you're not inside those 4 walls of the Australian dressing room. And I think it's very easy to have opinions from the outside, but ultimately only the people inside that dressing room know the people that they follow and that they look to under pressure moments. And you're right, the Australian team is blessed with a few candidates, and are any of them ready-made at the moment? Probably not, but I think that's also really exciting because they've got the opportunity to make the team their own and to grow alongside the Australian team as well. And I love that Alex Blackwell came out and said the other day, not to put too much pressure on leaders and to let them sort of find their feet. And I think that's really important because we were blessed for so long to have someone really experienced in Meg Lanning leading the team for a really long time, and then someone like Alyssa Healy to be able to come in and follow those footsteps after stepping in, for Meg when she took time off and being able to take the team and continue on. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a big job for whoever it is, but I feel like they'll be well supported by an experienced Australian dressing room and also the staff alongside them. So I think it's a really exciting time for Australian cricket.
Why was she special as a captain? What were the qualities of her as a person, a leader, that made her unique?
I think, to be honest, how much she enjoyed winning with her teammates and how much she enjoyed other people's success. And as I mentioned, the simple things like winning a game and singing the Australian team song with a beer in hand, they're the sort of memories that come to mind when I think of Alyssa and who she is as a leader. And I just loved that about her. I just loved watching that. And, she was so passionate about wearing the Australian colours, and you could really see that every time that she stepped out onto the field. She was always ultra competitive and always wanted to get the best out of her teammates as well. And she didn't mind if she was making the runs or not making the runs, but the most important thing to her was team success. And that's what really shone through to me in her leadership.
One more left field. What difference do you think being married to someone of the quality of Mitchell Starc as a cricketer made to what she did?
Well, I'm looking forward to when Mitchell Starc retires and people ask the same question about the impact that Alyssa Healy's had, because I have no doubt that both of them have benefited from, I guess, having someone at home that understands what it's like to represent Australia, the pressures, have someone to bounce ideas off, and I guess someone that supports you through thick and thin. It's a very unusual workplace, elite sport, and there's plenty of highs and lows. I guess the thing that they have brought each other over a really long time is that genuine understanding of what it is like, and I think that that's something that I'm sure they're both really appreciative of. And at times, I have no doubt they've probably given each other a little bit of advice as well that probably hasn't been well received on the low days for them both. But yeah, I know that Mitch, he's an amazing guy, and he's so supportive of not just Alyssa but of women's cricket, and he's been a big supporter of the Australian women's cricket team, and I know that he'll continue to do that even without Alyssa in the side as well.
And what about you? You've won the big WBBL trophy with the Hurricanes. You said you're retiring from that. Are you going to keep playing for Tasmania?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to keep playing for Tasmania, and I've played another game since, and then unfortunately I did a grade 1 calf in that game. So I feel like it was definitely the right time to hang up the spikes for the WBBL, but I'm still really passionate about playing. I still love the game. I still love representing Tasmania and the people of Tasmania as well. And, I wish I could play until I was 50. I love it so much. I think it's the best job in the entire world. And it's going to be a sad day when it's all over, but I feel incredibly grateful to have played for as long as what I have done and continue to as well. So, yeah, I absolutely love the game. Unfortunately, it has to end at some point, but I see myself still being involved in the game at, over the next however many years in some capacity, because it's just been such a huge part of my life. And as I said, I absolutely love it.
Tell me, you've spanned a couple of generations. I mean, when you started out in the WBBL, there was no WPL in India, as you know, or the 100 in England. How do you, looking back at, the time you started to where women's cricket is today, how do you reflect upon the opportunities that are coming the women's cricket way across the world, not just in 2 or 3 countries?
Yeah, I think it's just so exciting. I mean, the opportunities now compared to even 5-10 years ago, it just continues to grow each year. And I just think it's women's cricket has been around for a really long time, but it's now on TV a lot more, and it's in people's view a lot more. And I'm hoping that that's inspiring so many young girls and boys to play cricket, because it's really showcasing that it's a sport for all. And there's different, so many different people playing our game and showcasing their talent. And I just think, if I was a young kid growing up now, seeing all the cricket that's being played all across the world and the opportunities that are out there, I think it's just, super exciting. And to think that I've been, playing at this level for 19 years. And when I first started, contracts weren't worth $1 to where they are now. I mean, that's a huge amount of growth in a pretty short amount of time, to be honest.
And Elise, we spoke about sort of young cricketers growing up and their aspirations. You've played for such a long time as a professional. You've reached the very top. How would you sum up your career?
Geez, that's a tricky question. Wow. I'm not sure, to be honest. I would sort of say that I probably got better once I was out of the Australian system, to be honest. I think I was one of those players that was touted as being naturally talented, and I think it took me a while to actually work out my game and find that resilience and to be able to compete and perform at the Australian level. I feel as though I didn't quite nail that. There's a few things that I wish I had have changed along the way, but I guess the most important thing for me is I've always really enjoyed playing cricket. I've absolutely loved it, and I've loved being a part of a team. And I feel very fortunate and very grateful to have represented my country over, a number of years. And there's still so many people in my life that were brought into my life through cricket. So I'm unsure how I would necessarily sum up my career on the field, except to say that, I always felt like I tried my best for the team, and I wanted to be a team player. But certainly off the field, it's made my life incredibly rich from the relationships and the friendships that I've built.
Well, certainly, it's been a pleasure watching you over the years, and thank you very much for your time here on Stumped.
Pleasure. Thanks very much for having me.
Finally, on Stumped, it has been quite the week for Virat Kohli, who has displaced Rohit Sharma to be top of the ICC One Day International batting rankings. He's also become the second highest run scorer in international cricket history across formats after his match-winning knock of 93 in the first One Day International against New Zealand. The three-match series is currently tied at 1-1 heading into Sunday's decider in Indore. Sunil, he's surpassed Sri Lanka's Kumar Sangakkara now and is just over 6,000 runs short of the great Sachin Tendulkar, just a small margin of 6,000 runs. Look, he's getting on in years. Do you think that gap is ever going to be breached, that 6,000 runs?
Well, it's a tough question, really. I'm sure he's not thinking about that type of thing. He's not that type of guy. He just wants to be there and to contribute to the team. So it's going to be a tough call. And I think even though he's, over 28,000 runs now, I don't think it's really in his sights right now. It depends, because he's only playing one format. So yes and no would be my answer. It'd be great if he does. And I'm so sure Sachin will be the first person to congratulate him. But I think it's a bridge too far.
I think I tend to agree, just simply based on the fact that he only plays one format as well. Now, Kohli's former teammate Ajinkya Rahane has dismissed views calling Virat arrogant and says that it's all part of the preparation. He said what stands out is his attitude of learning, attitude of never giving up. People outside think Virat is arrogant, but he is not. He gets into the zone. He'll hardly talk with people before the match, even with teammates. That's what actually gets him into the zone. Initially, it took all the players a little bit of time to get used to this. Sunil, do you think the so-called perceived arrogance or getting into the zone is the reason that he's so prolific, because he's so single-minded when he gets out there on, what his job is and what he needs to do to get the team over the line?
It's such a fine margin between, perceived arrogance and being intense and being involved in just what you're doing, not being sort of distracted from all the adulation that you get and so on and so forth. But you must remember that India, the cricketers are heroes. The film stars are heroes, the cricketers are heroes, and he can hardly walk outside on his own. It's impossible, and that's why he and his family have relocated to London, as you might know, because he can walk around there as just a citizen, as a normal person. It can't happen here. So in a certain sense, you tend to build a little barrier around yourself. You have personal security, you have all that type of stuff. But if you look at him on the field, when he's in the field and he's talking to the spectators and he's smiling and he's doing all that. But he is very driven. I think that's the word. He's driven. And people don't understand that. People don't get that. They think, that person is, as you said, arrogant and he's only involved with himself, but he's not. He knows that he's getting older, and that's why he has such a fetish for fitness. He's, I think, perhaps the fittest cricketer on the field, at least for India, if you ask me. And at this age, it's not arrogance. I think it's intensity. I think it's involvement with what he's doing. And it's not really lifting your nose up against. He's come from a middle-class family in a middle-class neighborhood. He remembers all that. He knows his teammates. He knows everybody who's been there with him throughout his journey. So it's not that at all. It's just that it is very difficult for a cricketer of his stature to just get out of the house and go down, to a restaurant without the entire sort of population jumping on him and asking for autographs and so on and so forth. So he takes away a little bit of privacy and me time. And so therefore, I think that's what's perceived. And what Ajinkya Rahane said is absolutely right. That's what he is like.
Yeah, and when you talk about being driven and being intense, I think that's what fans love about him, especially, when you look back at his test career and when he was test captain, and he almost needed a little bit of a spark, a little something, a little confrontation. He sometimes might create his own confrontation out there on the field just to get him up and in that zone, which was fantastic to see. It caused great theatre when people were watching all around the world. And I guess that was one of the reasons why Test cricket was so popular in India through that era. That's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. My thanks to Jim Maxwell and Sunil Gupta, and to all of you for listening. We'll speak to you again next week. Goodbye.